Step into the game, we're talking wood and grain. Charles bring the heat on Southern Yellow Pine. Mascot US species, all is on the line. Drag with the spruce, keeping knowledge defined. Ashen moderates, drop the facts in the booth. We on the buy, the sell ain't no hidden truth. Economics and trends, we got it all so clear. Lumber Word Podcast, best believe we're here. If you wanna make more, get in on the score. Join us every week, you'll be hungry for more. Love a bit keen, though, whoop made known. Such rain Charleston, slide, plum ram known. Open to the scene, with the lumber supreme. Charles laying down facts with that southern yellow bling. Mac got that US swagger like strong timber beams. Greg's insights on spruce, rewrite the themes. Got the buy side talk, we stacking that flow. Selling knowledge, every week we still a show. Join the Lumber Word crew, let your business grow. For the sharpest minds, is what a place to go.
There we go, boys. Welcome to this week's episode of the Lumber Word, episode 162. Recording it on the 27th of March, 2026. Returning guest, Mike Logan, president of Gulf Coast Shelter. Welcome back, Mike. And last time we had you on here, you were just getting ready to start up over there. How's why don't you pitch us a little?
Didn't we have his retirement party?
Well, we did. That's true. I guess we weren't.
Had his retirement party.
You were getting ready to start. What? Give us a little breakdown of your first half a year there, or how long you been? How long have you guys?
So about 9 months, I guess.
9 months.
Yeah.
I
mean, the big thing for me is it's kind of a startup. I started out with 3 traders in Alabama. They're doing a lot of this kind of building product stuff, different things like that. So it's trying to build a team, trying to find guys, and you guys. I mean, Greg, you probably trying to hire people. You get caught in the if you have somebody that's really successful with a veteran, how do you get them to join you? If you get the rookies, then you got to have patience, and you got to know it takes time to build a business, right? I mean, all of us know what we're doing now. We've been in it a long time, and it's still stressful in that, right? So trying to build a team. I've got 11 traders now, and I'm kind of that impatient guy. So does it go as smooth as I want? Is there some growing pains? We're essentially what we've been around for a while, the name and this, but it's really kind of a startup at the end of the day, right? So trying to put the team in the right place and trying to do all those things, but we're growing, we're getting things going, we're doing we're not trying to be what I was before and trying to do all 1,000 trucks of commodities a month or something. You know what I mean? We're trying to actually do trying to build businesses with suppliers and trying to not just, hey, I'm going to be the best deal on 5 cars of random 2x4. You know what I mean? That's not kind of what we're trying to build here. Some distribution. We have large distribution business in Birmingham. We're doing finger joint longs and some other stuff down there. I got a bunch of guys doing building products, and then getting guys into industrial as well as commodities too, right? But it's
now, Mike, are you guys kind of like all over the U.S., or are you concentrating on specific areas?
Kind of, mostly east of, Minnesota, south of Texas, and east. We don't do much out west yet. I have one guy, but it's mostly doing building products in Colorado. Got a guy in Michigan. Got a guy, so we're kind of working different angles. We got wood down in Birmingham, like I said, and I've been putting some wood on the ground in Dubois, PA, and Minneapolis, and that. So we're kind of that Midwest and South, Southeast.
Gotcha. And what market are you personally trading still? Spruce market a little bit, or what are you?
I'm keeping in with it, but I'm trying to give the trading to other guys is really what I'm trying to do, and trying to here, call this person, do this, do that, when there's questions or whatever. But I'm really trying to, build. We had a terrible website, had to, took time to get that developed. It looks a lot better than it did, GulfCoastShelter.com. There's we're literally in such a learning phase in a lot of ways, getting our traffic department, getting this, getting that. So we're building, but it takes time. I mean, it's really kind of a startup. Wasn't jumping in and having a team of 40 traders and everybody knows what they're doing, and you just got to manage it, right? It's building a team, building, confidence in people, using relationships to open mills and, can, be able to show them that, hey, we can actually do some things for you.
Logie, are you having fun? Are you having fun? That's all I want to know.
I'm having fun. I'm enjoying. Somebody said to me the other day, said, how's the stress? I said, oh, not even close to what I had. Not even close to what I had in my former life. So yes, in that way, I'm having fun. Traveling a lot more for the business, to try to, meet up with people and, like I say, really just trying to grow things. But
Well, that's great.
It's a good challenge, right? It's a fun challenge for me. I trained in a lot of guys when I was at Viking and did, I helped out a lot of guys build a business. And I really enjoy that part of this is kind of giving back. All of us are getting long in the tooth and trying to get some younger people.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a fun thing because we need to get younger in this thing. You know what I mean? So
I don't feel old.
I mean, I feel like I'm getting younger in the business. Do I not look that?
right.
Hey, Greg, Mike said he opened his pool up the other day. Did you open yours up yet? You said he a little bit early.
No, the pool gets opened here. I think it's normally like middle of May. You like to have it open for Memorial Day,
Yeah.
It's 50-50 whether it's 40 and rainy, but we want it open for that weekend.
Matt,
Mike's
did you
natural gas bills. Mike's
get-
gas bill is going to be like $1,000 a month for the next 2 months.
Yeah, you're correct. I told my wife, she's apparently she's spending the money. So anyway,
Well, you open it up. It's a cold plunge right now.
Yeah.
well, yeah, she heats it to 90. So luckily it's got a cover that kind of keeps it in her. But,
No, that's not a cold plunge.
Oh yeah, no, if you've got the cover, that's okay. Yeah. See, I don't have the hard cover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have that because it's not the right shape. But
Beamer, did you get a
Yeah.
pool? Did you get a pool when you moved from your other place?
No, we have a huge yard. We could have put a pool in, and I wanted to, but my wife overruled me. So
really,
no
shocker.
Pool. Well, we're not going to stay here. The plan is to sell this house here probably the next year or two. So there was no point in just
Oh, really?
dumping more
Okay.
money into it. Yeah. Yeah,
Gotcha.
buddy, I'm going to be downsizing.
Whoa.
I'm going to be empty nester here in about a year.
Nice, huh?
See, but the only thing with all those kids is then they need a place to come back to, right?
Yeah.
Well, we'll get a different house. It'll still have enough room, but we don't need this behemoth. This is overkill.
Okay.
Yeah, we went the other way. We jumped into our dream house a few years ago so that we could, when we have grandkids and all that they have a place to come. They want to, hey, we want to go to grandma and grandpa's, right? That's kind of hard.
Yeah.
That's what hotels were built for, Mike. Hotels are your friend.
Yeah, right. Then you get rid of them quick, yeah. Right.
Well, we'll jump into it because I know we've got a lot to talk about between trucking and Southern Yellow Pine and all that good stuff. So it'll be my quick market breakdown for this week. It looks like we had a movement across all species, all items, studs. I mean, we talked about it for the last month, how we felt it was underbought. And if somebody came in and wanted to pad their inventory by 2 weeks or so, it would move. And I think we're seeing that. It looks like people are willing to now take 420 shipment on trucks and be okay with it, even though they're calling the next week and asking where their truck is. They're still okay with taking 420 shipment. So, if you look at the spruce world where I live in, mill lists are still pretty sparse, especially on 9-foot studs. 10-foot trims really blew up this week and took off. I think, Greg, you summed it up good. I'm not going to steal your thunder on this one, but I am.
No, you can. Please.
All the
Go ahead.
undervalued items that we've talked about for so long finally moved up higher and took off. And the items that we always kick around and talk about, 16s and everything, are still trading quite a bit of. So that's what I'm seeing on it. Matt, what about your side and your little pig farm you live in?
I mean, I continue to get run over with orders and inquiry, and it's more than I can cover. So I'm just trying to, just do the best I can to manage my inventory and not make any stupid decisions. So, it's really hard to buy the lumber that I stock. I have low grade and high grade. I don't have a lot of the mid grade stuff. So I don't really compete with the bulk of the market when it comes to just regular old two and better lumber. And both of those things are harder to buy now than they were, a month ago, and they're significantly more expensive. And then the appetite for it has gone up quite a bit, and it just seems to be unending. So, at this point, I just have to be careful.
Matt, do you feel that, like in the Texas market, that the increased demand for number 3 spruce is driven, partly by the guys that were using pine now that's moved up? Or do you think it's just because of the increase, that there's an increase in end use consumption?
I think it's like 3 different things, kind of all coagulating, really 4. So like the first thing is, when I was down there a month and a half ago, nobody really had a lot of inventory. It wasn't like there was high inventory anywhere. It was pretty lean, and at the most I would see moderate inventory at a couple yards, but mostly it was light inventories. And then the other factor is just seasonality. Texas tends to get busy in March and April and May, and then it'll cool down and the summer comes when it gets a lot hotter. But right now is sort of the prime of the year in terms of outflow. And they were starting to see a slight increase in demand in late February, early March, and that's just continued to grow. And then you have that cross species swapping back and forth between yellow pine and spruce, where it was much cheaper to buy yellow pine there for quite some time, for probably a year. And that's not really the case anymore. And so there's no tricks, no gimmicks that you can go back to solve an immediate problem. And I guess there's 3 things. And then I guess the fourth one is just that there's so little of this stuff being offered out by the sawmills right now. This is happening kind of what I thought would happen, where people came into 2026 with fewer contracts committed. And the mills didn't really want to add contracts going into 2026 because it's penalizing for them to pay 45 cents on the dollar to ship low grade across the border. So the mills have found a way to get rid of their low grade. All the economy is pretty much getting shipped offshore. There are some economy contract users in the United States that are still protected, but open market economy is pushing number 3 prices higher. And then the demand for number 3 and utility on its own is just pushing itself higher. So there's just a lot of things happening right now where low grade is really kind of creating these hard bottoms for 2 and better. And now 2 and better go nowhere but up. It just, like, the price that you can sell number 3 and utility for is right next to 2 and better.
Matt, what are some of the number 2 trims in spruce relative to some of the number 3 trims? How tight are we on numbers?
You mean, what are you talking about specifically?
Price wise.
Like
price wise. 8s, 10s, 12s, like
lengths.
Excuse me, 8s, 10s, 12s lengths. Yeah.
Well, 8s, I sold 8s at $4.95, and they're probably worth more than that. If I throw them into a random truck, they're worth $5.95. And then 10, same thing. 12s are worth about $5.75. And then 14s are worth $6.10, $6.20. 16s are worth $6.50, $6.60. That's
you're talking number 3.
Yeah.
So it's random 8 to 20. I mean, random 8 to 16 cars. Are they trading in like the low 600s?
No, $5.95 for flat tallies, 8 to 16. If you had really good tallies, they'd sell above 600.
Isn't that funny how we all thought he was talking about number 2 pricing at first?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I've been telling you guys this for like 2 months now, that there was going to be a tightening of supply on the low grade, and now it's come to fruition.
I mean,
and it's not ending.
Futures right now is like equivalent to what's that? Like 610.
What is May futures right now?
592. So that's like 610, 615.
It got down to 585 the other day, and I was tempted to buy that and just take delivery on it and use it as number 3. So that's where we are right now today.
Well, that's the thing too, Matt, when you're talking about that. I mean, it's not, and you're really doing that without new demand. That's the crazy thing, because demand hasn't changed. I mean, yes, you're getting orders, but I'm saying when you look at the numbers of demand, like it does not really change much.
No, this is a normal year. Yeah.
You got 25% less Canadian product year over year already. I talked to some of the guys who run the mills, and truly, I mean, they're only getting about 15 to 20% downfall. I mean, that's the other part of the problem people don't look at. The efficiencies have gotten so much better that what they're getting in 2 and better is significantly higher. And so, they don't even have as much downfall as they did in the past. So
Yeah, they're
You know,
not running that blue log anymore, right? So you used to get 30% fall down out of the dead pine log, and now you get 10, 15%.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the saw curves, I mean, I just had a mill tell me just the other day, they took orders based on what they, you know, on number 3, based on what they thought they were going to get on, you know, traditional. They put in just a new scanner and a new something else. I don't even know. And he's like, we are totally screwed. We don't even, we got contracts, so we can't even, we're not even come up with it. We can't do it, you know? Yeah,
what they do now, Mike, is if they increase their efficiency with scanning technology, then that'll high grade a piece that normally would have fallen down.
Exactly.
And then they put in new trimmers, and so they'll take like if it's a 14-foot number 3 and they can cut it to a 12-foot number 2, they'll just do that and just eat the 2-foot loss.
100%. And
Matt, what about the U.S.? What about U.S. species? How's demand like in the Western markets for, you know, Hem-fir, Doug-fir, green? I mean, what's going on there?
Well, there is no 2x4 Hem-fir around. I bought 1 car today, and I've been waiting for probably a month to just buy anything in 2x4 Hem-fir. I had to pay like $600 Chicago for it. So, but you know, it's a really nice tally. I think I'll be okay on it. And at that price, it's basically kind of where it's not quite, but it's close enough to the number 3 utility price that I can justify it. We haven't had any cars with 2x4 Hem-fir internally for 2-3 weeks. Everybody seems to be wanting that, and there's none of it around. And then 2x6, we are making 2x6, and I've been selling it for like 6.25 Chicago, 6.35 Chicago. I sold a car at 10s and 12s yesterday for 6.10 Chicago. So even the 10s and 12s, which sometimes can be a problem, are selling above 600. And then, there isn't very much 2x10 Hem-fir around, but, it's still heavier to Doug-fir. Production is coming slowly back to Hem-fir, and I think you'll see a lot more Hem-fir production over the next 90 days. But we're still cleaning up, a lot of Doug-fir dimension, green and dry here in the West for, end of winter conditions. You start getting into these warmer 60, 65, 70 degree days, mills will start running other species again because their drying times go down, right? That's for them. If they're running pine or Hem-fir, it slows the whole production rate down because that stuff dries slower than Doug-fir does. So that's why they like to run it heavy Doug-fir in the winter.
Hey, Mike, you're probably closer to Southern pine with what you do than any of us know anything about. And before we started the call, everybody got on, you and I were talking. I mean, shit, look at, you got East Side now at 580 and you got Western Mill at 487. We haven't seen that. We're back to like 2021 numbers on Southern pine now. We threw out, I think a lot of people went out and forward sold jobs delivered on pine this year, and we're running into a lot of that. Is that kind of like what we talked about?
I mean, literally, there's so many guys right now that are short in pine. I mean, and they didn't want to buy into it. There's about a month ago, it felt like maybe it was getting waffly, and literally it lasted about 3 days. Even the mills that I was talking to, that I know the guys pretty well, were like, yeah, it feels toppy. And then 3 or 4 or 5 days later, it just went boom to the next level. And, so guys are stuck in a couple things here. If they are short, which I know they are, and they've been paid to be short the last few years in pine. Like literally, if you took orders, in December, January, you were going to make money. Yes, they can put on more production in pine, and yes, they will. But I think the mill's got pretty good control, and I don't think that's going to go away for a few weeks. You see a few things where you think, oh, I'll be able to buy this and this, and they pop it up. But one thing we are seeing different, you guys and Greg and Ash, you guys probably seeing this, but I heard some spruce mills tell me yesterday that all of a sudden they're getting orders to truss guys back in Ohio and Michigan and Indiana that they haven't gotten for a couple of years because, pine is now crazy expensive and they can't get it because trucking is so horrible. That's the other thing about the guys who are short right now. They're double screwed because, even if they bought it and thought they had money into it, FOB mill at X number, now they're losing $400 or $500 a truck just because of freight. And so
that's if they're lucky, depending on how far they're going.
It's crazy. I mean, we're seeing it, but the pine mills are in very good shape. I mean, I was talking to one on, Arkansas, and he said he's easily got a 3-week order file, and he said, hey, we're happy as hell to keep selling here. These are numbers that we love. I mean, talking to a BC mill that they own pine mills too, he was telling me that, pine is what's keeping them afloat right now. OSB's not really making money for them. The only thing making money for them right now is pine, and it's helping out their bottom line, because without that, they'd be hurting. So, it's hard to see, can pine keep going? I think in the nearby, I don't think it lasts more than 2 or 3 more weeks, only because I think these other species are starting to be, again, used. Like, I had a guy looking for a truck, a 2-6-9 pine into New York. By the time I added freight, I sold him a truck of spruce at $50-$70 $1,000 cheaper, right? So, those are the things we're starting to see, and that's why I don't know if pine can continue its movement right now.
Well, the CME's pine contract is saying people think that because it's trading a $60 discount to spot right now.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. I think it was it 520, Greg, or what was the pine?
May's 528 right now, Ash. 528.
Yeah, so 528 for May. So it's trading a huge discount. So I mean,
why wouldn't you buy that? Just go sell cash.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's the trade. You're right, Matt. For May shipment, anybody I'll sell today's print for May shipment all day. Absolutely. I might even sell that under today's print for May shipment.
Since it's a cash settled contract, I think it's trading at a discount for the freight right now. I mean, is my guess.
Yeah. I would think,
but still, it should settle off of print. It settles off of print in May. So look, this isn't advice. I think it's a good one to be long. Except when pine does come off, whether it's in 2 weeks or 2 months, that comes off in chunks usually.
Well, and the hard part, like I said, if people keep, spruce probably will continue to get activity as long as they're getting, we're getting cheaper numbers in a lot of the northern markets, and even even down to Maryland, it's probably cheaper yet.
It is.
So the hard part is too with when we're talking traffic. I did a search the other day trying to figure out, because of us implementing laws that were already on the books and being tougher, they're talking about 200,000 less drivers in the next month, maybe taking off the CD. They're taking their CDLs off in the next month or so. So it ain't gonna get any better. The trucking part's not getting better anytime soon. I mean,
no, Ash and I were lamenting. I mean, we were on here a month ago, kind of highlighting what we were seeing in the trucking, and then in the last week or two, we've just been, we've been hammered by it, and we're going we talked about it. We knew, how is it that we're still in the muck?
Right.
Yeah. You know what? People need to recognize that what you do, when you decide your business model is going to be taking rail cars to some faraway place and then distributing truckloads to the local markets, actually has a real value. And, to anyone listening in that's new at this, you need to not let the guy on the other end of the phone pin your ears back and tell you that he needs it $5 or $10 cheaper when you're paying $5 or $10 more every time you pick up the phone and try to book a truck. Just tell them the price, and if they counter you, just say, this is my price, take or leave it, and then hang up the phone. If he doesn't want it, call the next guy. Because I hate to be a jerk about it, but that's just what you have to do. You got to pay yourself right now, because there will come a time where you're going to have to sell this stuff at a loss, and you're going to be still paying high freight to get rid of it. So you need to pass that cost along. You need to recognize that your business is a service that has some real value to it right now, and extract as much money from that as you possibly can, because you will pay a price at some point in the future with these price increases. And
we're in a little bit of a mini COVID situation where, during COVID, prices, the freight, it doubled and tripled in some cases to locations. Yeah. And I tell people, right now, I go, at a minimum, we're in this freight squeeze for another probably at least 60 to 90 days. Once we get into June, July, things will have evened out. somewhat, and obviously a lot depends on, what happens with the little excursion that we're having over in the Gulf. I mean, diesel drops $1 a gallon, it's 3 to 6 weeks from now is a different situation than if diesel's over $6 3 to 6 weeks from now.
All right.
But if you lose,
Logan, you
200,000 more truckers, dude, like I don't know if it can even itself out. Unfortunately, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It was funny though. I was talking to a trader the other day from a different company, and he had a long haul. Literally a month ago, he paid like $3,500 for it or whatever it was, coming from, I don't know where it's coming from. He didn't tell me that, but that was maybe only 2 weeks ago. Went to do it again, sold another load, do it again. Every trucking company was coming at $5,500, and he told the guy he's nuts, whatever. Went back and got him down like $1,000 in 10 minutes or whatever. And because these guys are reaching too. Now the truck brokers they're reaching too. They're like,
sure.
Oh, this is my COVID moment,
Yeah.
I can go out and I'm going to bid it at whatever. I mean, I was just doing stuff out of Mississippi to Wisconsin for $2,100 3 weeks ago, and now the best bid I'm getting is $3,200.
How do you stay ahead in the softwood lumber market? With prices shifting and trends evolving, making confident decisions starts with having the right insights. That's where Fast Market's lumber commentary can help. Every month, we provide clear, expert analysis of North American softwood lumber trends. Whether it's housing starts, remodeling projects, or industrial production, we break down what's driving demand. You'll also get access to the trusted Random Lengths framing lumber composite price, along with key historical data and future forecasts to guide your strategy. And it's not just the numbers. Our analysts translate complex data into actionable insights, helping you make smarter, faster decisions. Get the clarity you need. Find out more at fastmarkets.com/lumbertalk.
I was going to say 3,000 now.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing the same thing, Mike. I was shipping stuff from Dallas up to Chicago for 1,800 to 2,000 a truck, and now it's 2,800 a truck. And so, what that does is it regionalizes everybody. If you've got inventory and if you're distributing, you're distributing in a much smaller area. You're not going to be distributing from, from
the guys that are getting
Minnesota to Mississippi. You're not going to do that one.
I'm just saying, the whole logistics now, I mean, the real premiums are local market distribution. If you can do delivery, because number one is, like, to Ashley's point, I mean, we're basically quoting, 413 to 420 shipment right now on lumber that we have on the ground, right?
Yeah.
And, to Ashley's point is we'll quote that, and then someone will call a few days later and say, hey, can you have an ETA on this truck? Well, it's, it's not due for 2 more weeks, but, blah, blah. But, I talked to a guy today, and like the local market prices are $20, $30, $40 above like the numbers that we quote for that deferred shipment. And,
Sure.
Ash and I were just discussing and going like, hey, so should we be quoting the $20, $30, $40 $1,000 higher for, the quicker shipment? And, I said, but the challenge is then, we have older orders that we still need to ship. So I don't know that helps. I don't know that helps us. Talking out loud.
Do you know how, like, I think we were talking weeks ago about how there's always that one person out there willing to do something stupid that you lose, or like those people are gone now. And are we going to have that 2 or 3 day frenzy where people just pay anything for stuff? We haven't seen that yet. Matt, last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, you said we were in the early innings. I mean, when are we going to see that? I'm happy with it just staying a nice slow burn up. That's easier. But things don't always work out the easiest. Are we going to have next week those 2 or 3 days where everybody's just like, screw it, I got to buy whatever price it is?
Yeah, I don't know if it's next week or the week after, or 3 weeks from Tuesday. But
I mean, I think.
But it felt like it felt like it started happening like yesterday almost.
Yeah. I mean,
and like look at trying to shut it off.
What I'm getting for low grade. All right. I mean,
yeah, right.
But there's your answer. So what's
Yeah.
going to
I
stop
mean,
me from going out and buying all the two and better, and all my customers buying all the two and better that's available to them at a somewhat reasonable price, and all of a sudden the guy that actually wants to buy two and better on purpose is like, well, where did it all go? And that just happens in a day or two. If somebody, like in a market like the size of Texas, you could see 50, 60 cars of two and better disappear in an hour, And so, and that's just one state. We got 49 other states plus British Columbia and Alberta and all the, Canadian provinces that want to buy this stuff too on purpose. So yeah. And then you look at the lack of Hem-fir 2 and better that's out there, which is historically something that people would look at as an alternative. There's no standard better out here anymore. I mean, nobody really makes that. So all these little tricks and gimmicks that a guy can get away with, the only thing that's the obvious play would be just step up to the two and better grade and buy that.
So my upside target on futures is like 660 to 670. I mean, that's still like, that's still shy of what you thought the high of the year was going to be, Matt, but that is a lot above today's price, isn't it?
Matt, the other thing you're not running into is people, there's no euro either. I mean, I run into these pockets of euro, but it's not this constant stream.
It's not like the last few years where Greg and I were buying two and better 12s at the number 3 price and shipping them to our customers, right? So
exactly,
those things are not around anymore. And you're right, like Houston is hollowed out. I mean, nobody really puts wood in Houston anymore. They put it in Port Arthur. Yeah. And even the volume of Port Arthur lumber that I see is just it's a smidgen compared to what it was a couple years ago.
Well, Houston's like the worst place to put euro because you're stuck there. You're stuck there. You got ridiculous storage charges, and you got like and freight.
Yeah. Well,
Greg noticed that years ago.
Apparently, the cost delivered FOB to port here now. It's like their cost unloading everything is like $750 here, $700 to $750. I mean, and so guys are bringing it in. They're bringing it in just to move it out to some other market that doesn't dump into the markets they are. And I was talking to a guy that trades a ton of that stuff, and there's a bunch of ships that were supposed to go to the Middle East that are caught in that area of the Strait of Hormuz, and they're getting huge, like they're getting demerged big time, where they've had to reroute and go to like India and go to other places, they're cut for the Middle East, so they can't just ship it to the United States. It's not 2x4, it's not 2x6, it's just wood fire, right? But this whole thing is causing a huge disruption all around the world, not just there. And they were doing bids.
I never thought about that.
In India, there's ships going in. And like the first couple of guys that got there first, apparently were getting halfway decent bids, like $25. We'll count it in, our terms, $25 under the market or whatever. And now it's almost like the pandemic stuff on oil, where oil went to minus. Like the Indians are just saying, yeah, we'll take it, but we'll only at this. Because I mean, demerge on those isn't like a rail car demerge. It's $200 a day or something. It's mega thousands, right, every single day. So.
You mean the Indians are really good customers and they help you out when you need help?
Apparently, right? Yeah, apparently, yeah, right. So, but anyway,
easy. So I wanted to bring up a couple things about like.
Well, hey, one quick thing, Greg. I mean, so if wood's not going to go, that is one of the places the Europeans go is the Middle East, Africa market. If they can't make it over there in vessels, are they going to have to ship it here, or just where's it going to go to?
Well, they
don't have a market in Europe.
That's the big question. But I mean, we're not giving them a good return. So I mean, I think everybody's just praying that that they get this straightened out sooner than later on that end. I mean, I think that's their hope, right?
So
yeah, that's good.
I saw two things today that like kind of like maybe look at it. One is that. I mean, amongst all this, mortgage rates have moved up after moving south of 6%. They were in the high fives, and now they have moved back. I think they're like 6.3 today, which is back up to the level that it was back in September. But then the most interesting thing that I saw was that Fannie and Freddie are now going to allow cryptocurrency as collateral for down payment. So the deal is like if you're a millennial or Ashley and you want to buy a house and you have a whole bunch of crypto in your wallet, you can use that. They'll loan you money against it. It's almost kind of like, borrowing against your stock. Instead of having to sell it, they lend you against it. I don't know what the margin is yet, but
Yeah, because you're supposed to have diamond hands on your cryptocurrency and never trade out of it.
So, I mean, I look at it as two things. Is one is that, okay, so now people don't need to, they said something like, I don't know, 17% of millennials had to sell crypto in order to put down payments on houses in the last 12 months. I don't know where they come up with a number like that, but, maybe it's like where I come up with numbers, I just make it up. Did I say that out loud? Oh, shit. But, I do think that's, it's interesting. What could go wrong? I don't know.
Well, what could go wrong?
The value of crypto falls, and then they call,
Yeah.
and then they have to sell it in the hole, and then they have to sell their house because they have to pay the loan off. I mean, I feel it's a slippery slope. But
I haven't sold very healthy, and I wonder how much of it actually will get done. You know what I mean? Like out of the percentage, that's very low. You know what I mean?
At the margin, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I think the administration just makes all the younger people that trade crypto feel good. I saw crypto's like hitting a 1-year low today. So on Bitcoin,
that's another,
And I mean, look I'm out of Bitcoin completely, and I'll go back to your point. I don't know. Nobody has showed me what the value of it is yet. And I think it's a dangerous thing to do anything except US dollars if you're supposed to keep our US dollar strong, right?
Stablecoin. Stick to stablecoin.
Yeah. So a quick question. So we had one point I wanted to ask. I still feel that customers across most customers have not been able to, or maybe they don't want to, build up a larger days of inventory in the last month. Am I wrong on that? Or have they been able to do that, or does it matter?
I don't think they have, and I don't think they can in a couple different ways. I think, I think there was a lot of business taken, again, at above December levels, but not a lot higher than December levels, right? At the bottoms of the market, it felt like guys were putting on, a very small margin going out and selling. And I'm talking across the country. It sounds like that was happening. The national home builders were going out to people saying, "Hey, let's lock in, 5-6 months worth of product." And if you got sucked into that business, I think you're in trouble. I know jobs were taken extremely cheap in a lot of different areas. A lot of the people that I know that that if you didn't book it with somebody, you're offside heavy. And what do people do when they're offside? They limp it along. They buy it as they go. They're, you know what I mean? They're not.
Or they go, or they quit. They quit and they go to work.
Right?
Yeah, or they quit and go somewhere else. I've seen that in the industry a bunch of times.
Right. That happens too, right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So generally, any multifamily person that's out looking for a job right now, ask them what shit they left sitting at the last company they were at.
Right.
Yeah.
Ashley's coming on hard.
Well, no, look at, I've seen it. I've seen it like with people with inventory places where they quit and they leave like $1 million loser of inventory on the ground, or that's just our business.
I don't do it that way. I just take my losses like a man and move on,
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I always did it. You just took it. You just go. You just move on. But you got to rip the band-aid off faster, and you got to find other ways to trade through it. My thing was always, the longer I sit with this turd, if you got a bunch of orders, buy it, get it done, and now I can concentrate on how to make money back to take care of that problem I created for myself. Right?
I think adversity creates character, and character creates new profit opportunities with your customers that appreciate the fact that you are a stand-up person and you did what you said you were going to do, and you didn't string them along and make up all kinds of excuses and blah, blah, blah. In the long run, you'll be more successful if you just take your losses, act like a man, and own it. And then your customers will recognize that in you, and they'll reward you with more business. Trust me.
For sure.
I
Matt,
can't tell you what a man I feel like this week after like probably paying an extra $20,000 or $25,000 worth of freight versus what the orders were figured at. I built a lot of character this week. Although I did talk to one of my customers and I said, "Hey, I just want to let you know the links that we go at. I'm paying the guy to come in tomorrow to load a couple of trucks for you, because that's like the next level that we're willing to go for, and I'm paying extra for the freight also. But Matt, to your point, doing all those things as opposed to, and the other thing is when somebody says, hey, do you have an ETA on this load? Don't not answer. Don't say that it's shipped. Give the truth to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
If you don't have it booked, say, hey, we're working really hard. People are understanding. They all know that it's a situation. And, if you're just like that, they'll appreciate that. I mean, mostly
fallback,
they will appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
The old fallback is what order is that? Oh my God, I missed that one. I'll get it entered right away. I apologize.
But I tell you what, I talked to a couple different traders from a couple different companies, not ours, and they made mention that this is the most stressful up market they've ever been. They bought it right, they've done all the right things, and they're losing money still.
Yeah.
Because of freight.
Yep.
They bought cars, put them on the ground, thinking, broke them up, making $400 to $500 a truck outbound, and now that's all gone away.
We want those guys out of the business anyhow.
At the time, it's worse, right? You bought it right, and you couldn't use the right freight, right? Because what do you use? You use what you used last, use what you did yesterday, or you got to try to get new bids on everything. And that's what we're running into too, is that, if you price based on today's freight, you miss the order, but you probably don't want the order anyway. But it stops you from even, kind of slowing down the process, even going out and wanting to get new business, because it's like, what do I want to take this business for if I really don't know? It's not ready for a week, or it's not ready for 2 weeks. What the hell am I going to pay? But then anyway, I thought it was interesting. Multiple guys I talked to from multiple companies talking about the stress, the most stressful, non-profitable up market they've ever bought into.
I was stressing Ashley out this week. He was like going, dude, you gotta like chill out, and it's like you're gonna make me stressed out. I just said,
I was the least stressed this week because I was selling everything customer pickup. I'm like, hey man, I can't ship it for you, but if you want to pick it up,
you sold what did you sell, like 40 trucks from the mill this week? I mean, you said sold the entire mill production for the next 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, you were like so freaked out about trucking. I'm not going to add to the problems.
I appreciate that. I mean, that's why you're such a good partner.
Yeah, it was good. It was so. All right, here's an interesting question. At what point do you start taking the other side of the market when this thing runs up and start taking these numbers long-term short?
When I get the final blowout buy, the capitulation buy from the market, when I see that happen, then I'll just be a seller at that point and take my chances. Yeah. But for now, we're still you asked me what inning it is. I think it's the second or third inning here, dude. I really think
it's got to be fourth or fifth now. It's got to be fourth or fifth.
I'm telling you, Greg. Every fiber in my being tells me this is the early stages still, not the mid game.
Well, and I guess
but remember, with the new rules in baseball, the games are a lot faster
today. I mean, I guess you're right. I mean, $70 to $80 is a lot.
I mean, look, you can still buy studs in Dimension 2 and better at reasonable prices. When that is an unreasonable price, then okay, then the lid's blown off this thing. We've set new multi-year highs on low grade already. We're at 4-year highs right now and going up. And so what's to stop this thing from getting kind of hairy here in the next 30 to 60 days on the actual lumber that people buy on purpose, right?
Here, I mean, one of the great things is having good relationships with mills like Mike, you do, Matt, Greg. We were buying cars yesterday and selling them with profit in them, right? For trucks to ship in a month. Yeah. And I mean, and you're seeing a lot of weird stuff going on right now.
Well, there is a huge spread right now on, truckload versus carload. Carloads are trading at a significant discount to truckloads. That's for sure. But Matt, to your point is like right now, I mean, for May, June, July, I mean, I'd forward sell, utility spruce at today's price for May, June, July shipment. I'd sell 2x4 Southern Pine at today's price for May, June, July shipment, right? I mean, I might even sell the pine at a discount. So, but I don't see where there's any orders today at that price, right? I mean,
Matt might be giving you POs on cars.
Yeah, I'll call you after the show. How many you want, Greg?
I'll hook you up, brother. I'll hook you up. Yep.
You got 20 or 30 of those in your pocket? Because I'm coming.
So I want to tell a great story. One of our guys that worked with us, a couple different guys. Actually, you're going to know this story. So this was back in the day, and we're guys selling in the West Coast market, big buyer, and we've got a futures guru, forward pricing guy that's running the book, and the guy comes out, he goes, hey, he wants to buy, I forget what it was, Ash. What was it? Like, 50 cars,
40 cars
of 2x4 9-foot Doug fir. And there's a guy that's going to listen to this podcast is going to call me afterwards, right? And we go in and we look at the numbers, and the guy goes, yeah, take them. Take them. All right, so he goes and takes those. Great. Comes back like, I don't know, was it hours later or the next day? Like,
no, it was hours. Hours later.
He'd like to do another 50 of those.
Like, wait a second.
we took those too. So, I mean, we got that trade so far up the what. I mean, it was
well, we sold green Doug fir to one of the biggest green Doug fir buyers in California.
Right. We ended up shipping dry Doug fir on the orders, a lot of the orders, didn't we? Yeah.
And it's okay. Finally, once we figured out, when the guy called back, we're like, well, he buys probably one of the biggest green Doug, and we've never sold it in our life. But the numbers look right on the basis screen.
Yeah.
Right. And
he must have known that they were shutting something down.
I think that's what it was. Something
I
like that.
I don't even know that. I just think it was a demand. And then, like, he bought those forward from us, and then, bought every cash car that was available for the next month.
They can do that.
Right. When you're that guy can buy the 200 or 300 cars of lumber, I mean, Mm-hmm.
There's a rumor out here in the West that one of the big West Coast majors might have a strike, and that would affect a lot of green Doug fir production up and down the I-5 corridor. So if that happens, then not only will the green Doug fir be immediately spikier, but that'll really take up any kind of low-ball dry offerings that are out there that are even close. And so that'll just keep the tension on West Coast species more than it has been.
Are you still relying on snail mail publications from the 70s to reach the forest products industry? It's time to upgrade. Advertise on the Lumber Word podcast and get in front of the lumber world every single week. Our episodes are tuned in by the largest segment of influencers inside and adjacent to the forest product sector. Decision makers who shape the industry. Ditch those tens of thousands spent on outdated print ads and project your product or service across the podcast universe instead. Ready to make the switch? Head to thelumberchannel.com, click on Connect, and drop us a line with your info. Let's amplify your message today.
To your point, Matt, is what we're looking for is there's going to be something that happens that's a trigger that is the impetus for the blow off move of $50 to $100 from here. And it'll be the thing where everyone will be able to, oh, look at that. Zoom in, zoom out, Mike. I like that. Yeah. That is right there. That's perfect. You look like you look like the big dog there at the head of the conference table. I love that. But Matt, we're going to look for whatever that is, and then that'll be the trigger. And we'll run for 2, 3, whatever, 4 weeks, and $50, $100, $1,000 and it'll give basically everyone will be able to go, well, we didn't know that was going to happen, which is why we didn't have enough lumber. I mean, if you're a retail pro yard right now and you don't have somewhere between 60 and 90 days worth of coverage, you need to be buying that. Your risk reward is there's no downside on that.
Agreed. Yeah.
And the more willing you are to go farther out and where you can buy cars, those are trading discount to the prompt trucks. Don't have to be forced to buy the prompt truck. If you're a multifamily and you don't have, if you don't have Q2 covered, there's nothing I can do. Q3 right now, you can probably get some coverage at a discount, and certainly Q4, you'll be able to get a discount from here. And the question is like, how much of that do you want to cover? Right, Mike? Right?
That's a tough one because, I do think obviously every market's got its dips, right? Like, even during the pandemic, right? We hit 1,000 in September, and we were in the 500s in January, and then we went to 1433 by March, right? This thing, for example, pine has really run since December. Same with spruce and other things. Spruce never really, it hasn't moved. Obviously, the percentage of pine, the way it went, but everything has its dip time. That's why I think pine's closer to that probably than these other species, just because, again, they're not making more spruce right now. There's no reason to. They're still losing money. And I was talking to one of the guys in Runnaville in BC. BC government is double screwing them, and they're not even trying to work with them. They're not even trying to, they talk about, you need to, more employees. They're not even trying to help them, work. And I don't know when the last time you guys flew over Canada, but there's no lack of trees, guys. Let's be honest.
They got to set them aside for the caribou, Mike. It's really important to protect the caribou.
Exactly. But
and the 75 new Indian tribes just popped up in the last 3 years.
They're not Indians, dude. They're
to your point,
First Nations. It's different.
First Nations.
SPF is a run rate of down 25% from Canada. European shipments are down somewhere between 40 and 50%. Right. And yellow pine at best is flat, and probably, like the trailing numbers are probably lower production. US West probably the same, Matt. You think like flat at best?
Flat, yeah. There's no incentive to increase production.
So
the prices aren't good enough, and it costs too much. You're going to increase your log price if you start adding shifts. The log prices are in a reasonable range at the moment because demand has been steady.
So, as I talked through this, and I told a guy today, I said, part of the reason why I love the podcast is because it helps me form, like kind of my game plan and talking it out with you guys, because you guys are good, and you help me, and I appreciate it. I kind of talking myself into, given the 25% and 40-50% and flat, and the fact that businesses seasonally is improving, even if cyclically as it's still relatively flat, there's no reason to not expect another $50 to $100 up from today's price over the next 30 to 45 days.
And I'll add this. So distributors, and Matt, distributors like us and wholesalers have been willing to build our inventory. And as long as the end users aren't willing to build their inventory, we're going to get rewarded and paid for doing it. You tell the end users to build an inventory, Greg. If they did, our business would definitely slow down, but I'm not confident they're going to do it.
Yeah.
They're not going to buy losers. They're not going to extend the losses, right? They're going to keep it as tight as they can to try to see if there's any type of dip that they can come in and do it. And that's why I think it's going to be. I think it's spruce and ferns up. It's going to be tight for a while. I think, especially spruce, I think is going to continue to grind higher. The interesting thing is, you guys don't talk OSB on here, I know, but it is crazy to me. I actually thought, when you only have X amount of producers of that stuff, that they haven't been able to get this thing. I thought for sure by this time they would have ran to 300, found a way to do it on 7/16. And we're still seeing guys struggling moving contracts week after week at 240, 250 FOB mill in the South. Up in the North Central, I was just saying to somebody, it's been like 8 to 9 months between 230 and 240 on 7/16. We saw an increase on 3/4, probably about $100 because of some foreign some import not coming in for 3 or 4 months. But guys, it's weird to me to see a product like OSB when everything else is moving. You have pine moving, you have spruce moving, you got everything else, and it is flat to, I mean, yes, it's up from the bottom 50 to 60 to $70. Not in the North Central, it's up 0 for
I think that move comes, Mike, when, I mean, you remember back in, September, October, November, where a bunch of big yards bought 500 trucks. They bought 6 months or more worth of inventory and put it in the warehouse. They just, it was when trucks of it was, and I think they're bleeding through that, and all of a sudden will flip.
Yeah, and that's the crazy thing. But I would think that, obviously West Fraser's mill in Alberta, they're closing that down. I think they're running through the last logs coming up here in the next month or so. And then literally think about that. I mean, LP's got a mill in Alberta. Toco's going to run the West. I mean, unless Southern board starts shipping out west. I mean, it's amazing. I just would have thought that they would have found a way to get so much more control that we'd be pushing that a lot.
There's $100 move like around the corner
in OSB.
Yeah, that's what I think too. At some point here. That's why I wouldn't take shorts in that if I was.
What is it? What's 716 great for right now into Minneapolis, like on a rail car?
Literally, I mean, North Central print's still 235, and you get down here for 20 some bucks, or I mean, 250.
That seems really cheap.
100%.
It does.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. I mean, and
studs are 600, and OSB's 250.
It makes no sense, right? Like, and 3/4 TNGs, hanging out there at FOB port between 425 and 430, right? 3/4 in ports and that. And so, there's, and the mills aren't even producing that well. It just blows me away. But I think you're right, Greg, though. I think it's coming, right? Like, to me, it's been running behind a little bit. You had pine starting to go, it probably went first, and then spruce started going, and then fir and spruce probably similar time. And OSB was probably 6 weeks behind to really get real good momentum.
If we see that happen in the next week or two, we'll, guys are going to blame you for it, Mike.
Right.
Hey, guys. Hey, Mike, great. I mean, you look good, man, and I'm happy that you're having fun. It's it's great that you're in the business. We need more guys like you to stick around.
Perfect. We'll see you guys.
Yeah.
Matt, I'm sure you don't go to Montreal, but I'll see you guys in Montreal.
You'll see Ashley. I will not be there.
You'll see me there,
but you'll see Ashley for sure.
Okay. Perfect.
Have fun.
All right, boys.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Lumber Word. The Lumber Word podcast is dedicated to engaging conversations about the lumber industry, including trading ideas, market trends, and evaluations of overvalued and undervalued assets. We wish to emphasize that the discussions and opinions expressed in this podcast are purely for informational and entertainment purposes. They should not be considered as financial or investment advice. We encourage our listeners to make their own financial decisions, taking into account their unique circumstances and financial goals, and to seek professional financial advice if necessary.